Why do you think when we look back now at cycling, like you talk about PDM, like they're a pretty prolific doping reputation as a team. Sean Kelly is in that team. Sean Kelly tests positive for performance-enhancing drugs during his career, but his reputation is largely unsullied from that. You also look at like the likes of Marco Pantani, well-documented book on the death of Marco Pantani, where it talks, quite openly about historic drug use basically all through his career, but yet he's a hero in Italy. But then there's other riders that are totally demonized for the exact same behavior. It seems like we've a real double standard when it comes to how we view them.
Well, I think there's different levels of, I do believe some of the riders, I struggle with Indurain. I'm going to say this because I don't want to accuse him of anything, but he's a really good person. I like him. And I read enough to know that if by chance he was given stuff, I don't think he purposely said, okay. I think there was, even some of these teams, they don't tell you exactly. I think PDM told riders they're just taking some vitamins. They do drug tests. And then the problem is they get in there and the doctors, from a physiological part, from a medical perspective, absolutely, you could say that somebody racing the Tour de France should be taking testosterone because the testosterone, you're eating testosterone, your cortisol levels go up, the stress hormone. So to get back to homeostasis, take steroids, but it's illegal. And of course, that's the whole challenge of racing naturally is that it's the natural talent and smart racing tactics, how you save energy. That is how you succeed in racing. It isn't trying to constantly balance it. I hear this argument, well, you are genetically better. Why shouldn't somebody take drugs to be equal to you? I said, well, that's
just
the way it is.
It's black and white. It's our rules.
So then why do we have sports at all? If that's the case, then, then do car racing and, car racing and everything's leveled. That's not sports. So there's always this justification, but I would say the riders, I look back, I'm pissed off at the governing body. I think Hein Verbruggen, he knew exactly what was going on. And I always look at Graham Obree as a victim of old world ego and disgusts me because here's a guy that's brilliant, creative. He goes on and he breaks the hour record, but it upset Francesco Moser and the traditional. And the hour record is one place where you allow people to be creative aerodynamics, and he blew people away. But he went against the grain, and they spent more time trying to take away his deal, his titles. In the meantime, they turned a blind eye to the massive amount of doping. It was so well known that if Verbruggen absolutely knew what was going on. And so I always look, if you corrupt at the top, it corrupts everybody below. And the riders, I call them compliant victims because I don't believe any rider starts off at 15, 16, falls in love with cycling, plans on doping. But the sport is so hard, and then you get these doctors like Ferrari, and that they convince you it's not harmful. Everybody else is doing it, but it's not true. And but they convince themselves and they justify it because they believe everybody's doing it. And I don't want to be a disadvantage. And sadly, there's a lot of people. Who's the guy that the French writer that talked out about Armstrong?
Come on. Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Obviously, you know there's some. There's talent probably way better than Armstrong that didn't do it. I know that there's a lot of riders out there that were way better than Armstrong that you never saw because Armstrong, I hate to say it, was a very mediocre talent. He had a 78 or 79 VO2 max will not win you, won't get you in the top 20 of the Tour de France. I'm sorry. It wouldn't. And I've seen his physiology, I've seen the test. And so you go, who was the victims? The people who chose not to do it were victims of it. So what were their choices? Either get fired. I mean, the problem even then is by a certain point, if you weren't willing to do it, you're going to get off. You're going to be let go of the team. And to me, I still look at the French teams. I think after Festina affair, they were the cleanest and most ethically correct teams because it became criminal in France. And I don't think the French are born cheaters. They're just not. I've raced with them. I think riders, if they're given a chance, of course, every rider, if they can get away with it and never be shamed, and and if everybody's doing it, they'd probably try to get away with it. That's why controls and penalties have to be in place because athletes are humans and they all want to be competitive, and it takes a very special family and with ethics and morals to to avoid that. And even then, I'm skeptical because I was blessed with a massive talent, a really, truly 1 in a 10 million talent. And so I was already at 18 years old. I was winning pro-am races. At 19, I was third at Dauphiné with Hino and the Alps. So I felt like I never had to do anything because I was already there. I was competitive at the moment I turned pro. And I didn't come from a history of any cycling. I came from America. But had I turned pro in 1992 with the same passion I had in cycling, I don't know what I would have done. I'd love to believe I wouldn't do that, but I can't say because I goes back to 1988. I am so lucky that I was injured that year and I was out from PDM because if I was one time I was vulnerable, I could have been easily convinced to take some stuff to recover. You had a hunting accident, you need this. And had I done that, I think the danger is you take something and you have a good race. You don't think you can do without it. And I truly believe that. I think once riders dope, they could never go clean because it's a big difference.
So if you like this video, you should definitely check out this video because I know you're going to love it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel.